Welcome to a new video here on the channel for frequency therapy with the Diamond Shield Zapper. Nice to have you here. And first of all, a kind reminder, if you find my videos helpful, please feel free to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And have a look at the video description. There you will find links to the new Telegram channel, the Zapper community, the free chip card ebook, and also affiliate links on which you get 5% on your orders. But now let's start with today's topic. It's about parasite infestations and how you can support a parasite treatment with the Zapper. The topic is quite unpleasant because none of us assume that we have parasites inside us. We think it's more likely to happen in countries with poor hygiene standards, but definitely not here. However, the reality is quite different. And when we think about our pets, it's completely normal for us to give them regular warming treatments, but not for us. The fact is that parasites live inside us, and this was of course much more pronounced in the past. Due to the increase in hygiene and improved living conditions, the massive infestations of worms, which can be detected in stool and blood with the usual conventional medical diagnostics, has significantly decreased. But the fallacy here is that we think we no longer have a problem with them. The fact is that a latent infestation of larvae and parasites in various stages of development is still very much present in us. Parasites have chosen us as their host and therefore don't want to harm us too much, otherwise it would be bad for them. But what can be really problematic for our body is the metabolism or metabolic end products of parasites. On top of this, environmental toxins that accumulate in the body and disrupt the immune system can also cause problems. It has also been established that parasites are a kind of external environmental toxin reservoir. However, if these are now full and the body is already weakened by toxins such as benzol or heavy metals, parasites can multiply uncontrollably. The balance between parasites and the host begins to derail until it is completely lost, and there are several triggers that can tip the balance, especially with increasing age. For example, increased stress, disease factors such as flu-like infections, dental foci, stress caused by travel, a sudden increase in environmental toxins, bad or spoiled food, smoke poisoning from nicotine, and many other things. This is also one of the reasons why many of us suffer from a chronic lack of vitality, which has a massive impact on our quality of life. But what exactly are we talking about when we talk about parasites? Basically, there are countless types of parasites that can be roughly divided into worms, arthropods, and protozoa. We are all familiar with arthropods, which include fleas, lice, mites, and ticks. Common infestations of worms and protozoa include tapeworms, pinworms, and roundworms, as well as toxoplasma and amoebae from the protozoa genus. But how do these uninvited guests actually get into our bodies? A good example of this is the child pinworm, which affects many children and is passed on through direct physical contact between small children, for example in kindergarten, via the oral fecal route. However, transmission is also possible through contact with pets, insect bites, public toilets, dust, body fluids, stuffed animals, and contaminated foods such as drinking water, fecal manure, raw meat, fish and milk, or even wild berries and mushrooms. And what can be signs of a parasite infestation? Parasites can cause diarrhea and digestive weakness and are basically always accompanied by symptoms such as fatigue. The symptoms often occur periodically and are often similar to those of other diseases, or they may be asymptomatic for a long time. And because detection in the stool or blood is not necessarily informative, it is sometimes quite difficult to make a correct diagnosis. However, therapists with some experience can use bioenergetic testing, for example with electroacupuncture according to FOL, to find out quite well what is present in the body. But what are the more precise signs that it could be a parasite infestation? There are a whole range of symptoms such as a sweet sulfurous body odor, a sudden drop in performance, a sudden change in vision, sweating for no reason or a sudden chill, but also acute breathing difficulties, pneumonia or asthma, eczema, acne, itching, allergies, loss of appetite or ravenous hunger, nausea, iron or vitamin B12 deficiency, constipation, hemorrhoids, sleep disorders, stomach, joint and headaches, susceptibility to infections, blood sugar fluctuations, bad breath, menstrual cramps, and many more. But an infestation with intestinal parasites can also have long-term consequences, because parasites often also carry other unwanted pathogens, such as bacteria, fungi, or viruses, and are found in every part of the body via blood. Diseases such as arthritis, multiple sclerosis, appendicitis, endometriosis, obesity, underweight, cancer, epilepsy, and others are associated with parasite infestation. But what can you do about it? On the one hand, there are chemical anti-worm products, which have a quick but usually not lasting effect, as the parasites occur in the body in different life stages and therefore reproduce again and again. In addition, the intestinal flora can be put under additional strain because healthy germs are also destroyed. A natural parasite cure is much more sustainable, and there are various good and effective remedies, such as papain capsules or Dermaclean Euglandis. The capsules are used according to a very specific schedule over a few days, and the whole process should be repeated several times if necessary to ensure that all of them are reached. Dermaclean Euglandis is a complete remedy for the elimination of intestinal parasites, originally developed from the experience of Dr. Hulda Clark, and contains 3 different proven herbal parasite remedies, namely walnut, wormwood, and clove. It is taken 2 times a day, 1 tablespoon in a large glass of water. Manayan Clean is also recommended in the evening. This is probiotic and contains psyllium husks and spices which absorb digestive residues and activate the intestinal passage. When you start your parasite cure, it is very important that your excretory tract is free, otherwise symptoms could worsen. This means that the kidneys, liver, lymph, lungs, and intestines should be supported. You can also do this with the DTX chip card. Make sure that you exercise once a day so that you break a little sweat, drink at least 2 to 3 liters of pure water, and very importantly, you should have a bowel movement every day. The Dermaclean Euglandis already contains bitter substances, but you can still support your liver with a good preparation such as bitherstern. With the Zapper, you have various options for combating parasites. In the standard programs, you have the Permanent Zap or 727 program, which was discovered by Dr. Hulda Clark and which can be thought of as a kind of universal program for weakening all pathogens. Dr. Clark mostly used this in the form of the 727 program because it has proven to be effective in her treatments. If you want to know why, you can find the link to the video above. Furthermore, there is a whole series of chip cards on the subject. For example, against tapeworms, the 4 flukes, and also cards with frequencies according to Dr. Clark. Among the cards for symptoms such as asthma, endometriosis, acne, and so on, you will also find frequencies for various parasites because such complaints can be related to parasites. So, if you're specifically affected by one of these, then I would look at the symptom because all the frequencies that have been used by therapists over many years are usually summarized on the chip card. To activate the immune system against parasites in general, there is the Immune Modulation Parasite card, which contains classic rife frequencies and has shown good effectiveness in practice. What is also recommended to achieve the best possible result is to avoid animal protein as much as possible during a parasite cure, as parasites love to feed on it. If you just wanted to prevent and are not sure whether you have infestation at all, then you could do the whole thing twice a year as a cure by always using up a bottle of Dermaclean Euglandis and doing the 727 program 2 to 3 times a week during this time. However, if you have an urgent suspicion, I would personally start with the Euglandis and Dermaclean capsules and also take the 727 every 2 days. If necessary, supplement this with other chip cards depending on the symptoms, and after 2 weeks of taking Euglandis, I will then start with the papain cure. Of course, it may also make sense to consult a bioenergetic testing therapist at the same time, who will then accompany you specifically during the therapy. As parasites store environmental toxins and release them again when they are eliminated, you should also remember to take something to bind the heavy metals if necessary. Also remember that parasite treatment takes time. In most cases, they have been with us for many years, so patience is required, and the papain cure should also be repeated several times. Naturopath Baklayan, who deals with such cases on a daily basis in his practice, recommends repeating the papain cure 3 times for 5 days with a 5-day break in between, and to take the Dermaclean Euglandis for at least 6 to 8 weeks. This should be repeated in the spring and fall for the first 2 years. Even if I couldn't go into all the details in this video, I hope that it has shed some light on the subject and is a good first approach for you. And if you feel the need to dive deeper into the whole topic, then I can highly recommend the book Parasites, The Hidden Cause of Many Diseases by naturopath Baklayan. He has described the effects and problems caused by parasite infestations in very detail. You will also find recommendations for action and case studies, and there are also a few interview clips with Mr. Baklayan on the subject of parasites here on YouTube, which are very interesting. Be sure to take a look at the free ebook Gentle Therapy with Biofrequencies, because there you will find all the chip cards and the description, as well as recommendations for additional measures. Now I say thank you for joining us. Have a good time and check again.